Awesome, awesome. Hi, everyone. This is Tracy Burnett with B.U.D.S Foundation. Welcome to another episode of All Things Community. Tonight, we have the pleasure to talk a little more about what you guys often have heard me speak about since 2011, and that is the particulars of insurance. Such a value thing to have for your family. It's not, some people look at it as expense, some people look at it as a legacy, and some people look at the value for what it is. But tonight, you're not going to hear a lot about that from me. I have brought on some very, very special people who I consider an expert in the field, and we're just going to have a conversation with them about the various types of insurance. You're going to hear from Terrance Miller. Many of you know him as one of the leaders or president of Full Tilt. He's going to tell more about himself in the community, as well as Melissa Boddie from the Boddie Group. So rather than me give details about them, let's let them tell us a little bit about themselves. Again, thank you, Mr. Miller. And we just consider ourselves family. I just like to call him Terrance, so maybe he wants me to call him Mr. Miller in this episode. And Miss Boddie, thank you for being a part of this episode tonight. And we're going to start, if you don't mind, Mr. Miller. Ladies first here. Miss Boddie, tell us a little bit about yourself and the Boddie Agency, and how long have you been in the insurance business?
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me just say this first, Tracy. Thank you, Miss Burnett, so much for allowing us both to be able to be a part of all things community. I've always loved to serve and to be of service to other people. And when I had the opportunity to just take my passion and what I love to do and find the avenue, which was in the insurance industry, I jumped at it. Okay. Currently, I have an agency in Eastern North Carolina in Rocky Mount, and we have partnered with the largest final expense carrier in the U.S. to provide services in North Carolina and Virginia. We can cover anybody, and one of the things that we love to do is just to help everybody. So that's what I like to do, and that's what I've been able to do for the last 12 years. 12 years consistently working the community shoulder to shoulder with people that never thought that they could get services through our product.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's good to have those 12 years and not only just to be an insurance agent, but to have a passion for servicing the community. So absolutely, we thank you for that. Guys, next we're going to hear a little bit about Mr. Terrance Miller. Mr. Miller, you mind telling us about yourself?
By all means, and feel free to call me Terrance. You don't have to call me Mr. Miller. Most know me in this community as Black President of Full Tilt, former Vice Chair for the coalition here in Fayetteville, and also the ambassador of B.U.D.S here in Fayetteville. Got into insurance right after my retirement, after 23 years as an illustrious medical specialist in the military. Did not want to stick my hand in anybody else's orifices, so when I put out that resume to change career paths, insurance companies seem to be the ones to contact me first. Took a chance, fell in love with it, have always been one who loved to serve, and this just gave me an opportunity to help families and continue serving without having to manipulate anybody's organs. So definitely suits me well. Office here with Wright Agency of Allstate here in Fuquay Varina. Been doing this for about 6 years now, but we've definitely just hit our year mark and doing well and just continuing to help families.
Yeah, absolutely, and we know that your agent has a variety of different types of insurance that you sell. Being a part of former employee of Allstate, I worked as an adjuster and the investigator in the coverage investigating unit in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I definitely appreciate the products that your company has to offer and itself. So speaking of those products, guys, what we're going to do now is just kind of give a little bit more about the various types of products. Now, you hear myself, Terrance, and Melissa, if you ever heard us out in the community talk about life insurance. So we're going to start there because it's a question that gets asked a lot. Some people take it seriously, some people don't. And when being with B.U.D.S Foundation, one of the things we do is try to educate on that, because there's a lot of time when a family member, something does happen and there's nothing in place. But beforehand, I can tell from this past 10 years, and I know Terrance can as well, that I have recalled speaking to one or two people that never purchased the product, but sooner or later needed the product. So I'm just going to ask Melissa to tell us a little bit about whole life, and then Black's going to piggyback behind her, or Terrance, excuse me, is going to piggyback behind her and tell us a little bit about the insurance that's known as term life. So Melissa, can you tell a little bit about the question, what is whole or permanent life insurance?
Okay, sure. In life insurance, there's two branches to that tree. Is permanent insurance and is temporary insurance. And under the permanent insurance umbrella, you have whole life. And whole life generally is designed with guarantees in mind, meaning that the death benefit is guaranteed to stay in place. The premiums are guaranteed to stay in place for as long as the policy is in force. You have special nuances to whole life, such as the benefit is that cash value can accumulate. Usually after about 2 years, about 24 months, you'll start to see some cash value accumulate. So if a person experiences a hardship at all, or if they need to utilize some of that cash value, they can access it, because it is considered an asset. And that's something that is important.
Absolutely. And a lot of people, like you say, don't understand that it's another value. It's a builder on that. I'm taking care of my family. I'm taking care of me on that type of resume, on that type of level. And with that, just being and working around you, we have also talked about, with the whole life and with the final expense. So just to add a little bit more to that in your particular field, what is that to people? Final expense can sound scary. How does that relate to the life insurance, and what ages can your agency insure?
Sure. Final expense is whole life, right? And generally it's whole life. It's a permanent product. But the key difference with final expense is the simple underwriting process that you go through. Traditionally in insurance, you may have to do blood work, you may have to give urine samples. And with liberal or simple underwriting, you just generally are asking about 13 health questions, and they have look back questions on them too. That could be a year or 2 years that addresses significant health issues, and they'll do a prescription check generally. And in final expense, those benefits are limited because it's simplified issue. So you're looking at death benefits of 30, 35, 40, 50,000. Generally, my agency, we usually stop at 35,000 in coverage. We can cover anybody from 30 days old to through 85.
Absolutely. So started out with from like you said, almost being a newborn.
Yeah.
It's the key to that. That's what I want to do for my child, right away. And I definitely can go into examples about that.
Let me add this, Tracy. I'm sorry. Let me add this, but with final expense, we can cover that range, but generally the niche market, it is a niche market in final expense, and you're talking about 40 and 50 year olds and older. Generally, usually it's probably more like 55 and older in the final expense market, and they use those benefits primarily. When you say final expense, people tend to think of end of life, but you can use it for other things. You can use it for gifts, but most of the time people think about it in terms of end of life planning, burial insurance, and things like that, that could take care of things that comes up at the end of life.
Do you find it in that case that people just solely rely on the final expense just for the final expense? Do they have anything else in place most of the time, or at that age of 40 and over, that's what they're looking for? Because
when you're in that 40, 50 range, they generally have other things in place sometimes. They may have coverage on the job. They may have another plan that's more designed for legacy building, and they just want to have something separate that can provide some immediate liquidity for their families, so that they don't have to disturb what they had planned for continuation of their lifestyle.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're hearing, guys, like, about the whole life insurance and the final expense. But we know there's a lot of people out there that says, "Hey, what about term? What is term, and how does that benefit me?" So, Terrance, can you tell us about term life insurance? Is there any group that you find purchasing term life more so over the other?
Yes. So term is just a contradictory to whole life. It is basically you're renting your life insurance policy. One of the benefits of term is you get to choose how long that life insurance policy will last, usually between 10, 20, or 30-year terms. Mostly it's targeted towards young families, newly married, just starting out, low funds, just newlyweds, just having a child. So it's definitely one of those things where it targets those new couples, new parents. Um, it has many different benefits. It does not earn any cash value. I definitely want to point that out. Does not earn any cash value. Like I said, you're literally renting your life insurance policy. You're basically, if you don't pass within that timeline, you have several options. You can either discontinue and walk away from that policy, attempt to convert it to whole life, or you can restart another term policy at the age you are at the time that disbands. It has several different things involved in it. Most term policies you can have a critical illness or disability riders put inside of it. Some of them have return of premium riders that you can put in. You can get all the money that you put into it back. So it has several aspects that can benefit. It all depends on where you are in your lifestyle. Never recommend it for the older generation because it does them no purpose. It really doesn't serve them in well. But definitely, you can get a lot of death benefit for a little bit of money. That's the biggest attraction to term life.
Indeed, indeed, and certainly with that younger, that's how they look at it. And you're right, it's that attraction. I do like what you mentioned before about the rental. I never referred to it as that, but just listening to that explanation, certainly that's what it is. For that certain period of time, you're renting out the policy. Indeed, it with these types of insurance, guys, with these different, you know, we talked about who purchased it, but if someone that doesn't have it, why purchase either one? And both of you, either one of you can answer this question. Why purchase insurance, whether permanent or term? Why purchase it?
I would love to take that one. I speak about this often. My best phrase, and I say it every time I get to talk to a group, is GoFundMe is not life insurance. Passing the hat is not life insurance. If you consider yourself the breadwinner for your family, you definitely need to have life insurance. Imagine your family trying to survive without whatever income or whatever attributes you bring to the household. You are leaving your family at a disadvantage. Life insurance is not for you, it's for your loved ones. So if you love your personnel in your family, you need to leave them a way to function and not alter their lifestyle when you're gone.
Yeah, truly, true. And Melissa, you want to piggyback on that, because I've been in several of your trainings, and that's the same very thing that you talked about with regards to life insurance or whole life. So
Yeah, absolutely. You do have to, and I love it. And I said exactly the same thing that Terrance just said. Life insurance is designed for someone that that don't want to leave their loved one in a dire strait, or that they love something, right? They could be a part of an organization. They could be want to make sure that if something happens to them, they leave that person in a head start, or so to speak. So you do have to love someone or something to be able to make the purchase of life insurance.
definitely, and even if you don't have a family, love yourself
For
enough so
you.
you so you don't love yourself enough. And if you don't have a family, I guess we'll talk about that when it comes to legacy. There's so many other things that you can do as far as beneficiaries with insurance and what have you. If you feel, well, I don't have anyone, I don't care what happens. Yes, you do. You care. You care. So want to touch on, and Melissa had joined me a couple weeks ago. We was in Rocky Mount, North Carolina at an event, and Black has spoken as the ambassador for several events that we had. And so we're going to touch on that community that just loves those tools for a second. You know, Black, you're in the motorcycle community a lot. For what reason do you find that individuals being somewhat reluctant to purchasing life insurance?
So that in itself, you got to look at the type of individuals that are in the motorcycle community. Off bat, the mentality of a motorcycle rider is already a risk taker, adventure seeker. And the last thing we want to think about is our immortality when we get on those tubes. So it's kind of hard to impress upon a motorcycle rider the fact that you are not invincible. You are not Superman or Superwoman. And every time we turn that throttle, you put yourself at higher risk of meeting an untimely demise. So therefore, that we need it more than anybody. When you're talking about it, and it's so often, like I said, you see the clubs with the GoFundMe's and the pass the hat because they did not put something in place. One of the other myths that motorcycle riders believe that insurance is very expensive. It really is not. When you look around the motorcycle set and you see the 23-inch chrome rims and the systems, and you could have bought life insurance. And I call them out all the time. I have no issue letting them know. All that money you spent on those tools, you could have set your family up for success when you're gone.
Absolutely, absolutely, so important to that. And I've heard him do that, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't think he's gonna stop doing that. I heard him do it with the most serious look in his, as passion. So by all means, it's nothing that we're saying to bring harm. We're just here to help tonight, and it's so important. And Melissa, when it comes to educating others and this life insurance, I've been told that not everyone are approached by even individuals as an agent. Not everyone needs life insurance, Ms. Burnett. And again, we talked about this earlier. For that person that says, "I don't have a dependent," or "I'm not here to make my family rich." What would your response be to that question when they ask you? And I know you probably heard a little bit of time when someone tried to give you all reasons why they shouldn't, but they should. So, what does that type of comment mean?
Generally, a person that responds that way, it could be a number of things. It could be that they financially are not in a position to do anything. They may not want the agent to know. It could be some issues going on within their individual family. But generally, everyone that, as I said, that cares about someone else, that's the caveat right there. Life insurance, everyone may need it, but everybody don't want it. It's not a tangible product. It's a service that you want it at the end of life. You want to make sure that you have something in place, and you may not have someone that you deem close to you right now. But the benefit of life insurance is taking advantage of it when you don't need it, right?
Right.
So when you do need it, you can have it. Yeah, that's the benefit of it. So I encourage as many people that's willing to do something about it. You got to be in a position and you got to be ready to do something about it. I don't force this on anybody, Tracy, because you have to want to leave your family in a different position. So all we can do is educate, all we can do is inform, and hopefully we're planting the seed that will grow and that will take root. And sooner or later, hopefully sooner rather than later, that person will come around and see the benefit.
Absolutely, and you, like you said, some people may have something else in place, and there could be a time that I just don't have it to even purchase the product at this time. But for those that may have other things in place, maybe they have additional coverage into the auto property and have you. So Black, we kind of turn a little bit to what a lot of people love to talk about is I have full coverage, or my car is paid for, I only have liability. What do we mean when they say I have full coverage or I'm good, I only have liability? What do those products mean?
Okay, so I can talk about this all day, but I'm gonna cut it short for time.
No worries.
When you talk about full coverage, you have to understand what that means. Now, a lot of people have insurance. North Carolina has a minimum, liability limits of 30, 60, 25. However, you do not have full coverage when you have the bare minimums, because a lot of people, what they don't understand is at the lowest bare minimums, you do not qualify for what's called underinsured motorist. You may have uninsured, meaning that if you get in an accident and somebody else hits you and it's their fault and they don't have any insurance, your insurance company will come in and back you and take care of you. However, if that same scenario happens and that person does not have enough insurance to cover your medical bills or your property damage, your insurance company is not going to help you. So you need to be very cognizant of what you think full coverage is. So full coverage is full comp and collision to cover any cosmetic or collision damage on your vehicle. But like I said, underinsured and uninsured motors is what counts for full coverage. So you better be very careful about that. And a lot of people don't understand what those three numbers mean on your PNC policy. Those liability limits mean a lot. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to get into in depth about it, but you need to talk to somebody and understand what those three numbers mean, because that's what the insurance company is promising to do for you in case you do have a boo-boo.
Well, see, Terrance, I'm one of those people that say, wait a minute, you can't give me the three numbers and not tell me what they mean. So can you give us an abbreviated version of what those numbers mean?
Outstanding. I would love to. So as I mentioned before, 30, 60, 25 is North Carolina's minimums. The first two numbers deal with bodily injury. That last number deals with property damage. What that means is that first number 30 represents $30,000 in medical bills. So what that means is your present care is willing to pay up to $30,000 for each individual's medical bills. God forbid you get into an accident and it's your fault. Okay. That second number 60 represents $60,000 for that entire one accident. So it doesn't matter if you hit a car with one person in it or a bus full of kids, the most they're going to pay out in medical bills is $60,000. What you must understand is if those medical bills eclipse that $60,000, the rest is coming out of your pocket. So you got to understand what those numbers mean. That last number 25, again, represents $25,000, but in property damage, i.e. you hit another vehicle, you hit somebody's mailbox, or God forbid you jump the curb and land in somebody's living room, the most your insurance company is going to pay out is that $25,000. Anything over that, again, comes out of your pocket. So what I tell my clients is find the oldest, ugliest car and hit that one.
Okay. And that is the truth of what's said, ladies and gentlemen, because we're trying to give you some facts here tonight. We want you to understand what it is, the difference, and what it means. What about me? I'm injured, I'm hurt. There are some things that people have asked me about, whether it's MedPay or PIP. Now, PIP is not offered in every state, and you can tell us about that as well, too, right?
Right.
Terrance?
So MedPay is literally typically provides coverage a reasonable amount for necessary medical expenses, as well as funeral expenses resulting from bodily injury by an insured due to a covered accident, regardless of negligence or regardless of fault. North Carolina is a special animal. We do have a lot of different rules as far as other states are involved. Many times when you call any hotline or any help service, they ask you specifically, are you in North Carolina? But that's definitely what MedPay covers.
Absolutely. And I'm telling you guys, from just listening to Melissa and Terrance, from the adjuster standpoint, if you're sitting in the office and Terrance is your agent, I just want to piggyback on this, and you call and you got to give a set statement. We see what your coverages are. We see what's available to you. However, you're going to We're going to tell you what's going to be done, whether or not you're at fault. You're going to hang up the phone with us after getting all the information, and you're going to ask your agent this, and that. So if you have your policies tonight, you have your policy. We know we're all trying to determine who our next leader is going to be in this nation, but take the time with your family, whether tonight or the weekend, look at your policy. If you're that type of person that's been getting tickets, and your insurance company sent you a letter say, hey, we're gonna lower your limits a little bit, and so like that. You might want to really sit down and talk to your agent and see what you have available, because I've seen it so many times when people say, well, I took out my policy and this is what I have, but I'm feeding it told me they dropped my so talk to them about some information. Thank you for that. And just twisting around a little bit, Melissa, definitely gonna come back in your corner. But Terrance was talking about the auto or property, and you spoke with some individuals on the 19th. We had an event, was talking about insurance, not only talking about life insurance. So the reason why I had both of you on the call tonight, because we're also talking about, as Terrance said earlier, about those custom parts. So I want to tag along while we're on the property side and talk about that coverage for custom parts, equipment and accessories, because once again, when something happens, people wonder why things are not covered, but they get things chromed out. And I don't need that. So Terrance, your age here, what is the advantage of having the coverage for those custom parts or equipment and accessories?
So custom equipment coverage covers those nice accessories that we like to have on our vehicles and our motorcycles that's installed after you purchase the vehicle. What some people do not understand, it does not cover anything that was installed prior to your purchase. And so therefore, a lot of times when you look at a vehicle claim and talking about getting your parts replaced and things of that nature, if you don't have that custom parts coverage, a lot of those niceties that you added on are not going to be covered by your agency. So one of those things you need to take a look at is, yes, it's great to spend that money to make it look pretty, but make sure you add the coverage to protect those investments, because if you don't, you're going to get the sad face when they tell you we're going to replace the motorcycle. However, all that chrome and everything you had on it, it's not going to get touched by the agency.
I said, you guys are definitely leaving some interesting nuggets tonight, and what Terrance was saying about protecting your assets. That's what we're talking about tonight. So we're talking about the property, the auto, the motorcycle, and one of the greatest assets throughout insurance, permanent, term, whole life, property, auto, is that there's a lot of times that things or your family, those you love, are able to benefit from these insurance. And we see families that are left in devastation after losing a loved one, particularly a lot of times through motorcycle accidents and auto accidents, illnesses. We have a lot of people that have passed from COVID this year. We have a lot of people that lost their lives to illnesses such as cancer. And those devastations after losing a loved one can leave families sometimes losing everything after the passing of a loved one. So I know we have talked about this before, guys, but I often used to tell information or give people information about that insurance. However you look at it, whatever product you purchase, it can be another way of leaving an inheritance. So many times we don't understand what that means, but if you have that family or loved one, if you have that spouse, and you will understand what leaving an inheritance means. Because I think if you have two people in a home or one person home, if you have two people particularly, and that one of the spouses is a stay at home, you can also risk the chance of just leaving them losing everything. So can either you share with us about what it means to leave an inheritance?
Okay.
Definitely.
I'm not sure you want me to address that or Terrance.
No, we want you to start it out.
Okay. All right. No problem. No problem. Leaving an inheritance, exactly everything that you said. People, we do see a lot of people that have experienced some devastating things, and leaving an inheritance, to me, right, is leaving someone in a better position than than they could be in. Okay. The Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And that could just be solely focused on assets. It could just solely be focused on leaving them with monetary gifts or home or things like that. But untimely death could just wipe all that away. So we're leaving things to people, a legacy. When you're leaving a legacy, the things that you do, I often tell people this: what you do is the example that you're setting for your family and what they will follow, right? That too can is legacy building, is leaving an inheritance. Because if you do nothing, right, you do nothing, chances are you're planting a seed that they may not do nothing either. Right. So we want to make sure that we are changing the dynamics in families. And it all starts with us. It all starts with you, and making sure that you're doing the right thing, making sure that you're leaving your family in a good position. You may not think that you have enough assets to protect, or you may not think that you have anything to leave. Oh, but you do. Right. And you can leverage insurance in that aspect. You can use it as a gift to your church, right? You want to leave a legacy, all right? You can leave it for a scholarship. You can leave it, just leave someone in a position so that when you die, they are not left scrambling, and they can just actually grieve and think about the good memories that you left.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, Terrance, so you want to pick up on about leaving inheritance? Is there anything you want to share about that?
Definitely. She touched on some great points, but definitely I want to point out that we have insurance for some of everything. Everybody carry these around. I guarantee you got insurance for that. However, life insurance is the only insurance that you're guaranteed to have to use.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one guarantee we have on this earth, is you're going to die at some point, whether it be unexpectedly or by natural causes. You're going to pass, and you need to leave something for your family. Something that most families have figured out, and our African American community has failed to pick up on, is the quickest way to build wealth is through life insurance policies and products. Um, you leave a $500,000 policy to your child, they receive that $500,000, they go out and buy $1 million policy. And then it just trickles down over generations. You don't have to have $1 billion industry to leave inheritance to your children. And a lot of people don't understand that aspect. And so definitely leaving an inheritance or a legacy can start very simply by using life products.
I think this is so very important because I'm from part of a blended family, ladies and gentlemen. So when I mean blended, I mean come together and being, in the marriage, sitting down and having that conversation with the children and saying, this is what, we have done. And these are the things that, because you came into this world, you're going to leave this world one way or the other. And it's just, I've seen it in my own family. Let's be real here. Things that have happened, and it was painful. It was a struggle. One of the reasons, even coming into volunteering and being a part of B.U.D.S was because I knew what others were going through. I knew what it meant to lose a loved one. And it's so ironic and funny that the week before I lost my brother in an accident with 3 cars, is that he sat down and he asked me about an additional policy that he had took out. Asked me what I thought about it. I said, hey, go for it. And just being very transparent here, he got the policy. And I said, oh, is this policy in effect now? He said, oh, no, it'll be in effect Friday. I said, Friday? And I said, no. I said, when you make that payment, your policy is in effect. So I called it. He called the insurance lady. Sure enough, she told him that. And the sad thing about it, you do not know when, because that very same Friday is when his life was taken. So we want to shoulda, coulda, woulda. I'll get it done later. Let's probably, if you can, take a look at it. If it's $10 or $15, I've told family member friends that I know, can't pay for your policy every month. But if you need to stick $10 in your account to make that policy effective today, let's do it. Because that was a lesson that was learned for us. But luckily, there was additional things in place. Very smart gentleman, but it's one of those things. It's better to need and not have it. So, better to need. And what's that thing, y'all? Because I say it all the time. I'm having a brain issue here. Than to not have it and need it. So we're just gonna sum it up like that. But this episode here, guys, I'm telling you, I could go into so much more with Terrance and Melissa tonight. So yeah, we're gonna kind of bring them back in 2021. So let's go ahead and make that announcement. And because of the various products that they offer, I think it would just benefit us to, just give some time to talk about the products with Terrance and then another episode, just maybe have a month series of life insurance or insurance and bring in Melissa so we can delve more into this and maybe have some testimonies of different individuals who have benefited and can tell you, particularly from our community, the ones that Terrance and I have supported, the clients that Melissa and I have been sent out on when it comes to life insurance. You always want people to be able to give their testimony. So those are the things we're going to share with you. But in our closing of this episode, God, that went by awfully quick. I feel like I have so much more to say to you guys. So we have to bring you back if you don't mind. That's my stickler, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I love to talk about insurance. I do want to say this on this episode of this segment. We have a very wonderful individual who's ill at this time. So we want to keep them in prayer, as well as all of you who have loved ones that are in the hospital or if you're dealing with something. So our prayers for you to be able to move your faith forward. So we have Lewis Clark. We are praying for you, my brothers. And although the doctors may have tell you one thing, don't let that count you out. Continue to trust in the Almighty. Melissa, we actually met this gentleman. He embraced you on stage on the 19th. And that next week he was at UNC in ICU. So that's what we always say. You just never know what happens, and you never know if you're going to have a time period where doctors may say this is what's going to happen in this time. But again, Lewis Clark, aka Godfather, my friend, my brother in Christ, we are praying for you, and don't give up. Continue to fight the good fight. So that's work in store. So we're going to end this with just asking Melissa or Terrance if they have anything in addition before we close out this episode of All Things Community.
Just for me, Tracy, real quick, I just want to encourage everyone, just like you had, I think it was you or Terrance that mentioned, it's so important to do policy reviews, not just for your property and casualty policy, but also for your life insurance policy. A lot of times, especially when they have term products, you may have taken it out and it was a 10-year term, but 3 years already done passed by. It's no longer 10 years left, right? It's no longer 10 years. And if you have a whole life policy, you need to know who your beneficiaries are. Things change, people pass away, and you may not have made that update. Just please reach out to your agent just to make sure that everything is in good order. Because sometimes people miss payments, especially on permanent policies, and that puts them in their grace period. And by the time they miss another one, that it lapsed, and you're thinking something, with the insurance company, all these years I've had this policy. Well, you might have missed a payment years ago. So please check with the insurance agent or the company just to make sure that, as they say, that you're good, that your policy is in good order, because just like you said, we never know when things may happen. And you want to make sure that everything is in good order.
Yes, absolutely, indeed. Thank you. Thank you so much, Melissa. Absolutely. And Terrance, being a gentleman on this call, 2 ladies versus 1 of you tonight. Would you like to give us any closing remarks, sir?
Yes. Just like she said, definitely get that insurance review. If you do not have the proper insurance, go see somebody. If you don't come see me, go find somebody to sit down and talk to. If you do have a life insurance policy, make sure somebody knows that you have it and where to find it. It's too often that someone passes and no one has a clue that they have a life insurance policy and it just sits somewhere in the corner. So make sure those two factors are in place, and y'all have a blessed one.
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, I just want them to mention real quick, guys. Don't want to leave out. If you want more information, you can stay tuned. We're gonna share this this video, this episode again, so you'll see it all across my social media. You certainly will share it with your friends, share it with your family. Again, if you need to talk about the products that Terrance or Melissa shared tonight, you can contact Melissa. Can you guys give them some information how they can contact you, and then we're gonna close out.
Sure, you can call my office directly at 252-316-8062. I also have a Facebook page, the Boddie Group Insurance Services, or you can reach me on LinkedIn or Instagram.
Absolutely, thank you. And Terrance?
You can contact me directly at my office at 919-823-7992, or you can call the main line. It's 919-587-8570. If my line is busy, one of my colleagues will definitely help you in that process. And I also have a Facebook page, email, you name it. I just want to help you guys. Contact me.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. I can't wait to get you guys back for another episode. I know you thought this was it, but if you know me, you know it's not. So thank you so much. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to All Things Community. Share this episode. Subscribe to our channel. We're going to put the links down as well on this channel to how you can contact Melissa and Terrance as well. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Share this with your information and education with your loved ones, and we'll talk to you soon.